Welcome back to Mobile Rolling with the second part of the interview with David Smith.
Here at Valley Horse Transport, our high level of knowledge and experience within the equine industry ensures that your most important and most loved assets are professionally transported with the utmost safety and welfare. Adelaide to Melbourne, Melbourne to Sydney, with reliable connections throughout all states in Australia. With the well-being of your equine companions being of paramount importance, our angle load transport trucks are fully equipped with a full range of safety devices and features. As well as providing professional equine transport, Valley Horse Transport also have multiple stabling facilities located among our routes, ensuring your horse arrives safe and in excellent condition. When the best is only good enough, ring us at Valley Horse Transport on 0499 449 151.
We left off with Toymaster basically starting you off as giving you a bit of a kick along with your training career when he was such a good juvenile horse. And you were mentioning Ian Devitt had the horse. What did he do with you? Because obviously you're out here at the new, were you out here at the new stables at that stage?
Yes.
So then you said that basically that give a bit of an interest for people to give you some horses. So how did it flow from there, and what sort of horses did you have for the next 5-10 years from there on in?
Yeah, basically we mucked around with young horses and had reasonable success. We had a few horses for Rex Vanstone. He helped us along a little bit. We did lease one out of the yearling sales that didn't sell. Out of the yearling sales that was a moderate performer for us, I suppose, but we won.
What was that one?
Her name was Astral Star. Not sure how many she ended up winning, but I think she ran a lot of placings and stuff. But yeah, around that time after Toymaster, we had a horse called Trapper that was quite handy. We were very lucky with a little horse called Call Me Aussie come along. We didn't break him in or anything. He came out of the Adelaide yearling sales as well.
What sort of years are we talking there? 80s, 90s?
Yeah, good question.
Were they? That was when I can remember the times when they had 130 odd horses at the Adelaide yearling sales at the showgrounds and that. Well,
I'm not sure which sales he come out of, whether it was showgrounds or where it was, because I didn't have anything to do with buying him or anything.
They just gave him to you. Were you breaking him at that stage? Because you break a lot of horses.
I didn't break him in or nothing.
Who used to break your horses in before you?
Mrs. Olsen down at Angle Vale broke him in, that horse, and the owner trained him for the first 12 months. And then we were lucky to get him. That's what I was saying before, in that he started he had no one to work with, so he said, can I bring him down to your place and work him with another horse? And so he started working with a trotter, and the trotter was too good for him at the time. But after about 4 runs, I said to him, you're getting too good for me now. You better sit on the outside. Well, he sat on the outside, and the little horse ran out the gate and tipped him out and broke his collarbone. So we ended up taking over his training. Otherwise, we probably never would have, And I think it was only about 3 or 4 weeks later that he was in the sale race, heat of the sales, and he won. Only went 2-6, but he won the race.
And got the money.
So
that's all that counts.
That's all that counts. So in the end, 21 races we won with him.
Really?
So,
is he by Ambro Aussie, that horse, or not?
Yeah, he's by Ambro Aussie. Yeah.
So you had horses. Did you have one of the Lindsay Head breed, Mayfield something? Do you have one of those?
Mayfield Memory we leased off.
Was that a mare?
Yeah, she was a mare. And we ended up taking over it when she retired. Owners gave her to us, and we bred a couple of foals from her, and one was Loves a Drink that won 7, but was only very moderate. So yeah, she never really bred on that well, and then she had to be she died having a foal 1 year, so we lost a foal and her, and etc. But otherwise, we'd done. She was very good little race mare herself. You know,
So you've had a lot of success. Training, but especially driving trotters. They're very calm and cool. So, what's some of the better trotters because we had an influx there, 30 years ago, where we had some of the really outstanding trotters, and then your Black Teds and your Gramels and all those.
No,
that was the era of outstanding horses.
That was back in the 60s and
70s, yeah. And probably there's been a bit of resurgence of late. I mean, there is now 3 or 4 trotting races on the program.
Yeah, and been good.
And it has made a difference because, 4 or 5 years ago, you didn't have enough for you didn't have enough for a slow class and a fast class trot, and you couldn't. It was unfair to combine them. Well, now I think you got to play a choice of about 3 different groups that you can go. So, what were some of the trotters that can you remember that you've driven? Or I mean, of late you've driven quite a few nice horses.
Yes,
I don't think there's been any. Well, there hasn't been any superstar trotters in South Australia, although a couple of those horses that Jeff Easham's brought back, Powder Keg and that, have already been proven on the big stage. But any that you know that you think you've driven in your time, the trotters, or?
I think horse on the wall there in the picture, Parakuma. He rates up there as nearly one of my best horses.
How did you end up with him?
He was advertised. He was advertised in the Trader. I think when they used to have the harness race.
The paper, harness racing.
For sale, and the owner, the fella that owned him, ended up owning him. Seen him in there and brought him out of there, and give him to us to train.
So who owned him?
Yeah, good question.
Bloke from Melbourne, was it?
No. He lives out Malala way, but I can't recall his name at the moment. Probably be on that
photo. On
the photo up there on the wall, but he done very well for us. We ended up taking went. I don't know what year it was. We took him into the Minions in Melbourne. And Keystone Johnny was around at the time, so they used to have quite a good clash. Keystone Johnny probably had the edge on him. But if I got the better run, well, then I would beat him.
What about paces? You had Toymaster and
probably haven't had any real outstanding horses that have gone to fast class or nothing. That's the one thing. But yeah, I don't know. I've got a book here. I'll probably have to go through the book and have a look.
Well, while are you looking through your book, you broke a few horses in, right?
Yes.
And what's the best horse you've broken in?
Probably. This is a. What sort of question's this one?
No, I'm not going to ask you to answer the question, but.
Well, you
did break a horse in for me called Major Crocker, and
that's right.
You broke 5 in that year, and I said, "How's mine?" You said, "Oh, he's probably about number 2 or 3 on the list." Well, he won $1 million. I don't know whether the others have won $1 million, but I never forget that. I think the others were. He was by Art Major, and I think the others weren't as.
They wouldn't have been.
Were not as well bred,
sure.
but he was a naughty boy from day one when he was born, and I think when you might have broken him, he might have already been gelded. I'm not sure, but
no, I don't think so.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So, just whilst you're looking there, your dad's horses, he had some outstanding horses.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
And obviously he had horses that ended up in America and that. The real good horse he had,
Bravado Brett.
Yeah,
he was outstanding for his time. He won the Fielder's Plate in 74 at Gawler, so he would have started racing when he was 71, 72, I presume. But before that at Wavell, he had a horse called Tyrell, won a size produce, went to fast class at Ascot Meadow. He took over a horse from Bill Shin, Amber Glow, that he won quite a few with. First horse he ever had was a horse called Wildwood Lad. That's when he was 17. and won a string of races with him. Apparently, the reason he won them because he was a smart beginner. So obviously around Wavell it was quite an asset, and I think Wildwood Lad basically set him up to buy his stables at House and Stables down at Semaphore, where I grew up with my sister, and there were a lot of people down at Semaphore at the time. I think there's only one left, and he doesn't train anymore there. But
that'd be John Bashara, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But in those days, it was not only harness racing. You had Colin Hayes and all that down there.
Lots of Hendersons and lots of
it was big business.
And there was Paddens and everybody was sort of down at Semaphore, because of the beach. The beach environment was where everyone wanted to be, basically, to jog their horses on.
So your son Michael drives, and got a good pair of hands. So I think you've been did you have a situation where your dad, you and your son all drove in the same race, or
a few times that's happened. I think, one meeting we all drove a winner on the one meeting, and then there was another time with the trotters. We ran 1, 2, 3. I think that happened a couple of times. Yeah, that was quite good because I them couple of times I won both of them, so I was quite happy to be the one in front. But obviously it wasn't just me; I had the better horse. So
So you've been here and seen the best. We're talking about horses. I don't think we've had anything on the stage in the last 15 years that you could say was a champion. In South Australia racing. No. We've had Common Frank and we've had Major Crocker, but you wouldn't have said that they were ever going to start favourites in a big race. They were nice horses, probably in the top 15 or 20.
Major Crocker, even though you owned him and you live in South Australia, he was basically
Victorian
classed as a Victorian.
Anyway.
So Come On Frank, it was probably our greatest
advertisement
in a sense, because he won the Vic Bred final 1 year, 4-year-old. And so forth, but it's been slim,
and until Encipher this year. So
that's true.
You've trained and driven against the best. Who do you say there's horsemen and there's horsemen, right? So who would you say would be the top few blokes as far as trainers are concerned that you could say, well, this bloke can train. We're up against the best in the time that you've been here, either when you were with your dad or now when you're on your own, sort of thing.
Yeah, interesting question. I think if you go back in time a little bit, and I was only very young, but just for the amount of horses that he only had, Bill Shin would be right up there pretty high, because he would only have half a dozen horses at a time, I think. Les Kelso was quite well known as a top
king of
young horse person. You put me on the spot a little bit. Just thinking about different things in this day and age. Your leading trainers get to be the leading trainer because of numbers, lots of times. But and
as you're saying, with Bill Shin, for argument's sake, he had a golden era with the Vanstone horses, which he had Rocket Robin
and Rocket Robin, but the Globes and Barry Allchurch horses, Globe Score and Thunder Score.
What about drivers? Now, most of our, you'd say, outstanding drivers aren't here anymore because they've all moved interstate.
Yeah, that's true.
But as I mentioned in a few interviews, I've had people say to me that they thought that Lloydie Webster was the best of the Websters, and yet others always talk about Dick, and then there's others that say that Jeff Webster was better than Lloydie. So in your time, who would you consider to be some of the best that you would say, well, this bloke he's just the best?
Lloydie and Dick Webster was sort of before my era. Before
they were in your dad's era, really.
That's right. Yeah,
and a little bit before.
So I can remember driving against them because we never had concession things in them days. You just
got drives.
Basically, you just never got a 10-metre lift or 5 points off or anything what they do these days. So it was you just got thrown in the deep end. But I would have to probably go with Jeffrey Webster as being quite outstanding here in SA in his prime.
Very cool.
Very comfortable.
In the interviews I do, we come up with the same sort of names, It's Jeffrey Webster.
Or even Ross Sugar.
And Ross Sugar, but you also have
the numbers.
David Harding is always brought
David Harding just seemed to, horses ran for him.
They wouldn't matter if they were 1 to 2 or 100 to 1, they ran, didn't they?
Yes, he just seemed to be able to get the
best
out of them. But yeah, you put me on the spot. You probably should have asked me these questions beforehand so I could prepare a little bit. But
it's not school. You're not getting marked.
I understand. But, I'm going to leave people out that I should probably mention. That's all. But,
and that's going to happen. I mean, there's some in all the years, Les Kelser's been he was the doyen of young horses. You don't hear his name very often, but when you seen Les Kelser when he was training for Peter Minervini and all those, some of those horses he had, you knew that they were going to win, and they did win. He could take them anywhere and win. And in those days with horses like the Sugars has had, Lenny with Ross driving like Popular Port and horses like that, they took to Kilmore and whatever.
That's right.
And they were fit. They were fit when they knew they were coming from here. They knew they weren't just there for floating practice. So just probably in winding up, you've been there. You've been your family has had Inter-Dominion horses, and you've took horses to Inter-Dominion. You've had top horses. Your dad has. Your son's a good top driver. How do you think we're handling? How do you think things are going without not putting you on the spot? But obviously everybody realises that the industry isn't what it was. A lot of people are burying their heads and saying we're fine, but we all know it's not. Just the handicapping and programming and a whole pile of issues. Do you think we can turn? We're not going to start you on that, but do you think they can turn things around, or do you think there needs to be a major rethink by everybody?
Well, I think they're trying to turn things around. It's just that I think it's basically gone. Not so much gone too far. It's just that getting crowds back to the races
isn't going to happen.
Not going to happen because of the Sky Channel, and people can bet on their phone and whatever. Whereas one time there, like I've read newspaper clippings of 30,000 people going to Wavell to watch Minor Derby, and but
that would be the crowds for the year in some places.
Oh well, we wouldn't even get that in a year. I wouldn't think. I think we'd be struggling to get 300 people there at Globeville on a night some days. But back in them days, it was so much different. Obviously, if you wanted to have a bet, you had to go on course. Whereas now you can.
And you had to listen to it on the
radio,
radio,
miles away and still bet on that race. So
exactly,
and watch it in colour and everything. So it's so much different, and there's so much more entertainment for the general public to.
There's too much to offer.
Take in. There's too much to offer. With your footballs and crickets and whatever. It's very, very hard for administrators. I do admit.
All right. Well, just in that, thanks, David, for your time. I'm sure you're still young and you'll be around for another 20 years, and maybe we'll interview you then and see what's happened in the 20 years in between.
As long as my brain's working then.
Anyway, thanks for that. Okay, all the best. Thanks, David.